When you did your prac, did you ever wonder how the year began for that teacher? Did they simply walk in and begin teaching? What did they need to do to have the class working effectively? And what were the things that they did not do? The beginning of the year is prime time for setting up expectations, for setting the tone of the classroom and being clear how you want your students to operate. You can also do this at the beginning of a term. And when things are not working well for you, you can go back and reset. This is part of a series for teachers at the beginning of the school year and outlines how to set up for success. In this video, you'll learn how to set expectations for your class to increase the likelihood that students will behave appropriately and learn effectively. Setting clear expectations at the beginning of the year or at the beginning of a term will prevent difficult student behaviour because your students will know what you expect from them and feel secure in what to do and how to act in your classroom. I'm Maria Amaro from The Highly Effective Teacher. I'm a teacher and an author, and I've been working with students and supporting teachers for over 30 years. I'm passionate about helping teachers to improve teaching and learning practices, and I combine research and experience to provide the strategies that improve student learning by improving classroom management. I focus on the practices that take little or no extra time, the strategies that can give you back time because you're working more effectively. And I love coaching teachers so that they thrive in the teaching profession. And I emphasise teacher wellbeing because improved teacher wellbeing means improved student wellbeing, and that contributes to better academic and social outcomes for all our students. If you'd like to learn more about how to be a highly effective teacher, please subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so that you get notifications. We put out 2 videos every week, so make sure you don't miss any of the content. And when you subscribe, that helps support the channel, means we can keep making the videos. If you know someone you think would benefit from the teaching information and wellbeing that we promote, please share these videos with colleagues, friends and family. Everyone knows a teacher or someone who works in a school. Number 1, put first things first. If I was to only give you one piece of advice as a teacher, it would be this: set clear, observable expectations for your students from the very beginning. You decide in advance the behaviour you want to see in your classroom and engage in effective ways to teach this to your students. Think of as many situations that may arise with students before you have your first lesson. For example, what will you do when a student's out of their seat? What will you do when they call out? What will you do when they refuse to do their work? So, A, explicitly teach your expectations for behaviour and for academics. Think of behaviour as another subject that you need to teach your students, and be creative. Use simulations, games, role plays, written tasks, visual arts to teach the behaviour you want and make it fun. B, display those expectations prominently in the classroom using visual cues. Students could create the visuals using a variety of media, and consider how stop signs on the road or quiet signs in hospitals remind adults and young people of expected behaviours. C, reinforce your students for following the class expectations, giving specific praise that reinforces target students and prompts others to do the same. You can use an individual reward system combined with a whole class reward system, and using that strategically builds morale and class cooperation. D, reteach your expectations when necessary. For example, when it's a new situation or when behaviour has deteriorated. There are times throughout the year when you may need to revisit or redo your class expectations because you may have let things slip or the class dynamic may have changed. Never assume that teaching a skill once is sufficient. And for more effective tips on classroom management, check out our videos on how to deal with difficult student behaviour. We have a series particularly devoted to how to manage difficult student behaviour. And for other tips, you could look at my book, Habits of Highly Effective Teachers, where there's lots of strategies on how to deal with difficult student behaviour. Number 2, ask your students. So A, negotiate class expectations with them. Hold a class meeting and give all your students a voice in how they think the class should operate, including what they expect from you, their teacher. Spend some time looking at the values that guide your school and your class to make this a meaningful process for both you and your students. Some teachers like to create a whole class agreement that everyone signs and that it's displayed proudly in the classroom. B, negotiate fair, respectful responses with the students for when they don't follow your expectations. Have a clear hierarchy of consequences that are meaningful, restorative, and teach the students the skills that they need to get along with others and work productively in the classroom. Giving students an opportunity to have a say increases the likelihood that they will comply with your class agreement. First of all, decide on the guiding principles. For example, respect others can refer to the way students speak to each other and to you, and to the way that they approach conflict, or even something as simple as another student's property. Number 3, set up some processes. Teach your class some set routines. Every teacher is different and has different ways of doing things, so you need to teach your students how to work in your classroom. Consider all the variables. For example, how does a student ask to go to the bathroom? How do they ask for your help? What's the process for getting work corrected and marked? Where do they put their homework? Devise some routines for handing in homework, how students will get assistance from you, how they work in pairs and groups, how they work independently, how they transition between activities and breaks, how they ask to go to the bathroom, and how they pack up at the end of the lesson of the day. When a classroom operates smoothly and students know what's expected of them, it usually means that the teacher has invested time and energy into teaching the students those classroom routines. And that means that the teacher has decided on the behaviour that they want to see in the classroom and designed processes that will work for the particular class. So in deciding on your routines, develop those that work for you and your students by A, deciding what's important for you in the classroom, and that could be done in collaboration with students so that you give them ownership of the expectations. B, practice using the routine, so use role plays and simulations in the setting that you want the behaviour to be shown. So, for example, if the class is expected to walk quietly down the hall to assembly, get them to practice it in the hall. C, create visuals for each of the routines. Students could make posters, signs and pictures to remind everybody and to remind you. D, positively reinforce students with specific praise when they follow the routines. Decide if you want to use a reward system, because that can help to embed the behaviour that's based on the needs of the students. E, give students responsibility for the routines. For example, students collect the workbooks and put them away. Students clean up at the end of the day and clean up their own mess and work collectively to do that. F, ensure that you include routines for transition times. Moving from one activity to another, going out for breaks, entering the room, can all be times when order can rapidly descend into chaos when you don't have any clear procedures. And when students know and understand the processes that guide the behaviour in the classroom, they can feel calm, confident and ready to learn. For more detail on how to set up routines in your classrooms, check out our video where you'll learn step by step how to develop effective routines that work for you and work for your class. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and happy teaching.